Good about it, aren't you?
No, I was actually taking a look at that haircut, Gary.
Oh.
We yield, you know, those barbers make the highest yield on us. Welcome to our Weber County, Utah Commission meeting dated this Monday, April 22nd, 2024. Glad to have you with us all. Those of you in person here, quite a regalia of folks, wouldn't you say, Cortland?
Sure would.
And those of you online, the ambassador of entertainment, Eric Householder, I see, and then also those of you who might be watching this later. I'll entertain, while it's not here, I'll pass that by. Let's move to our first item on our, this is a public meeting, not a public hearing, so no public comments will be taken. Our first discussion item is a discussion on 4300 West, the pavement project. Ashley Tolman, Sean Wilkinson, Gary Myers, Joe Hadley, Jason Horn, Cortland Eriks.
Yeah.
I believe that covered about all of you.
Yep.
Ashley,
Yes,
you're
sir.
listed first.
Yes.
Will you lead we also have the great Christopher Crockett here. Yeah, so, and Jessica, thanks for joining us. We have a full quorum here today. So, go ahead, Ashley.
All right, thank you, commissioners. So, we called this meeting, we wanted to discuss a contract with you. What this is Morgan Asphalt is out there doing work in front of the new high school on 4300 West and then also on 2200 South. As they got in and looked at the grades as they were prepping for asphalt, they looked at the existing asphalt on the east half of the road and identified some drainage issues, some grading issues with trying to tie in their work with what's existing. And as we looked at it and tried to identify options, whether that's let them pave now, I guess the alternative to what we're gonna propose is so what we're proposing here is that we contract with Morgan Asphalt to tear out the asphalt on the east side as well. What was that?
An R&R.
Yeah, remove and replace the whole road from curb to curb, regrade, get a good crown down the middle. As opposed to what we have now, which is a crown somewhere in the east portion of the road. And do it right now, do it good with this project. The alternative would be letting them pave the west side, coming back later, and Joe and could overlay in various thicknesses, you know, a lot of thickness in some areas to try and fix the grading with an overlay. And so as we were out there looking at it together, we felt the best approach was to remove the asphalt and do it right now, do a good job this time as opposed to trying to fix it and always keep fixing it.
Is that the team's recommendation here?
Yes.
Where would the money come from, Ashley? These are all wonderful ideas, but where would the money come from?
Solutions are good, right? But the money is the critical part of this. And so what we're proposing is that the Prop 1 funds be used to fix this road. This is on the Prop 1 map. It's identified as a Prop 1 road. So we're proposing those funds be used for this project.
Commissioner Farrar,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
this is in your portfolio, and we certainly don't want to.
No, it's not. Well, let me put it this way. You've heard me say this before. I'm not really one that likes to see lipstick on a pig, so. I think that's what we'd have if we don't do it this. That's right. Does that explain things?
Pretty good.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember reading on the bathroom wall when I was young.
Oh,
If you don't
Be
have
careful.
time to do it right the first time,
yeah,
when are you gonna have time to do it a second time?
kind of the same thing, yeah.
Okay,
I like mine though, lipstick on a pig.
okay,
I don't like either of those, but yeah.
you have one.
No, I don't. I'd love to see the road done right.
Jason, I can tell you that years ago, when there were multiple asphalt companies, many of them would come out and bid the project, and most always Morgan Asphalt would always win that bid. They were very competitively priced. Whatever price that is, I want you to call a guy by the name of Travis Burke. Write that down. Once you get the price, call Travis and say, come on, Travis, you can do better than that. Harv told me you'd do better than that. How much less do you think we could do it for? He's now like second in command over there, Morgan Asphalt.
Morgan?
He made his hay out there at the Golden Spike, all that stuff.
Cool.
So in regards to procurement, we asked for a price from Morgan and worked with Jason because they are mobilized and they're there. We looked at the cost of the materials alone and felt this was a good price. And we talked with Jason. Jason, do you want to talk about the procurement? Because it is a little different than our standard.
Sure.
Put it out to general bid.
So R&R, where I come from, is rest and recovery, which I'm getting ready to start doing here pretty soon.
Wonderful.
Yeah, as far as this is concerned, so Ashley and I talked about this a week or two ago. And with the help of Joe and Ashley, actually everyone, we determined that where these guys already have the equipment and machinery out there, plus the asphalt, if we go in and try to procure someone else, and it just so happens that it's not Morgan Asphalt, it's gonna cost more. And they were actually able to give me some numbers. I think just at the first part where you're ordering the asphalt, it's what, $40,000 to $60,000 more than, and Morgan actually came in lower than we expected. So this is kind of a win-win, and I think it's an opportunity that we ought to take advantage of right now. That will also be a substantial savings.
Thank you. Mr. Hadley. Any comments from you, sir?
No.
Very good. Well, I think, Vice Chair Bolos, are you okay, move forward?
Mhm.
Commissioner Faur,
Yep, I'm good.
I think you have a unanimous consensus here. Thank you for bringing that to us.
Appreciate that. We will talk about this again tomorrow downstairs.
Oh,
You know, we like it when you bring it to us in a work session before it becomes formal.
Yeah, but I wanted to make sure we discuss this because there's some unique circumstances that I wanted you to be aware of and give you a good opportunity to answer questions, ask questions and get your answers. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your presentation, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate it. All right, with that, commissioners, Mr. Horn, it looks like you'll make your 1 o'clock. And commissioners, the next item has been canceled on our agenda, which is the discussion regarding the mountain sewer. So I'll entertain a motion to saunter until 1:30.
So moved.
second.
We have a motion to saunter till 1:30. All in favor?
All right.
Aye, motion carries. For those of you online, we'll be back at 1:30. and click the start video. That lets those who have waited online know that we're about to end our sauntering session. Do I need a motion on that?
Well, motion to cease the sign.
Say that.
I'll entertain a motion to cease the saunter.
Just gave you one.
Okay, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, thanks. We're gonna cease to saunter. Just stand by for one more minute. And Jim.
So I'll put that application in this.
That's awesome.
I know.
That's really cool.
I know. He said you have to get a high level thing, yeah. Too high level attention.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we've ceased to saunter. Gonna move on to our agenda item number 3, which is a discussion regarding the upper and lower sewer. Chad Meyerhofer, Gary Myers, Sean Wilkinson.
Josh Bryant.
What's the last name?
Bryant.
Josh Bryant. Didn't know the last name. Thank you. All right, here we go. Chad, you're listed first.
Okay, perfect. So what we just wanted to do is just come sit down with you. I think Commissioner Harvey, you kind of mentioned this to us a few years ago, coming in, just kind of give you an update on the sewer systems, where we're at on them. Giving you guys the opportunity to, or the commission, the opportunity to ask any questions that you may have regarding them. And so if it's all right, I'll just share the screen here and just kind of start going through. So I think we'll start with the Upper Valley.
Okay,
And essentially the Upper Valley sewer systems, they kind of consist of a few different systems that the county's over. So I think you're probably familiar with some of them from the past, but Emerson Hills, Bay of the Acres, Pineview West, which I'll be bringing Pineview West before you here in just a little bit. We'll stop this meeting and
let me see
switch over to
that.
that. So
Let me see that.
There you go. Now you got one more. Okay.
okay, perfect. So Hawkins Creek is one of them, Basin View and Trappers Crossing. Some of these systems, we do have agreements with them. Bay of the Acres was done before my time, before I was here, but as far as Emerson Hills, Hawkins Creek, Basin View and Trappers Crossing, we have agreements with them in place. So Hawkins Creek kind of manages, there's a little bit different how their agreement was made. If there's anything that we need to do, we just send the bill to them and they pay for it through their HOA fees. That's probably the biggest difference between the two of them. When the developer had developed it, we did have some funds associated with that, and we've had to use it to camera and just do some preventative maintenance and stuff like that. But right now, just to give you kind of an idea, the total sewer line in the Upper Valley is about 12,878 linear feet, 2.4 miles approximately, and there's about a total of 128 connections up there. Not that all those are connected right now. There's probably, I don't know, probably a little bit more than half or a little less than half, somewhere around there, as far as that's connected. So right now, the monthly fee is $40 up there. And I've been in communication with Scott Park. We're gonna look at kind of going through and reviewing those fees, and you'll probably see something come here before you in maybe June or July of this year.
Well, just to make sure that, like those people, the people that are in those districts, I'd hate to see them ever get a big assessment, you know, a $10,000 assessment. If they pay that little bit of fee, then when these big items come up, then they're not gonna notice it. So it's good, it's smart budgeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. And we'll be able to bring that before you and kind of show you how we develop the fees. But essentially what we do is we go through and look at the infrastructure and what the costs are and the replacement cost of right around 100 years. As far as, you know, of course, stuff may be a little bit sooner or a little bit later than that. You know, it's kind of an unknown for sure, but
We got everybody at $40. See, at one
Nope,
time.
they're gonna be a little bit different,
Yeah.
so I'll go through that with our lower valley, they're a little bit different, and then in our upper valley, we've got, well, when we start talking about Pineview West District, they're a little bit
Yeah.
different.
Is everybody in the upper valley at 40?
So everybody on those systems, on these systems right here, excluding Pineview West and Hawkins Creek, are paying the $40 a month.
Excluding Hawkins Creek, correct.
And Pineview West,
Correct.
What about, I don't see Crimson up there.
and I
And
don't see
Crimson-
Radford.
And that's both, they both fall underneath the Pineview West
Okay.
district, so.
Okay,
So they just combine those into Pineview West. Got it.
Yep, yeah, they're kind of their own district, that you guys are the board, will kind of go through that system here, in the
Makes
next,
sense.
next stage, so.
when you bring that back, will you put, in parentheses by Pineview West?
Right here.
Put Radford and Crimson
Okay,
there.
yep, you
So
bet.
that
Actually, I
any of
probably
Future commissioners would be.
should have done is just deleted it. So this is kind of a map that shows all the systems that are in the upper valley, or should I say at least all the districts. We do have Nordic Valley down here that's a district, but not really functioning or
They're
in
actually reactivating.
getting
Yeah,
in the
going,
process.
yeah.
So, okay. So this does include, as far as the ones at the county that we're over, this is Emerson Hills up here in the north. We've got Bailey Acres that sits right here. Then this is the Pineview West, which involves Radford Hills and Crimson Ridge. And then down below here, you have Hawkins Creek, which sits right here. Basin View, which is the top of Old Snow Basin Road. And then we've got Trappers Crossing that sits over here. Each one of them is kind of a little bit of a different system. Most of them are essentially large community drain fields. Trappers Crossing does have with the Renko system, which does a level of treatment associated with it as well. So just for preference or for information, if you'd like, we've got Green Hills, which they're their own system, Huntsville Hollow, Wolf Creek, and then of course Powder Mountain, he's up there as well. So kind of gives you a perspective of where they're located up here in the Upper Valley. And that's about it. I mean, as far as the fees and everything up there, we're doing pretty good as far as collecting them. There's not too many that are delinquent. That kind of goes for both upper and lower. But those that are delinquent are kind of getting more current with their bill, Scott said. So, but very minimal. I think we're pretty high on the.
Okay,
But can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
please, I'd love for you to ask a question.
So just to be clear, on the invoices, we don't invoice each user, we invoice the LLC or whatever it may be.
No, so the way it's set up, we bill through each
Each one?
user, yeah. No.
Wow,
if-
okay.
Yeah, that's the thing.
For some reason, I thought we were collecting from,
The whole, some would be the wholesaler, yeah.
So we do have it set up in the agreement, should they not be bill or not, we can't collect fees from them, or we have a large expense come up, then we're gonna have the ability of sending one invoice to the HOA. But right now, they're paying for it through a user fee. So,
and I'm assuming you've got the breakdown, so we've got some admin fees to take care of collections and
yep,
all
We,
that.
we have periodic maintenance we do on different systems, unique just to those systems, and those HOAs are.
Pumps and.
Yep, they're all billed
Okay.
accordingly.
Okay,
and when you come back, or when we come back here in July or so with to update our fees and stuff, we'll kind of go through that breakout with you. You know, we'd be preventing maintenance by going through camera and inspecting and flushing each of the lines. Usually we try to do that about every 5 to 7 years on the existing stuff. And anything that kind of new comes online, we kind of push it back to give about 10 years before we go through and flush and test that. Now, there could be some problems that we run into, you know, different issues that may need to be cleaned more frequently than that. And we haven't ran into any of that, but should there be, then we would go through camera and test those more frequently.
and so just to be clear, these are systems that were put in by the private developer slash subdivision. We agreed as the body politic that's required under state code to basically service it but that was our option as these came online.
That's right.
Yep, yeah, when they come online, that,
When I say we, that was some commission
yeah.
in the past.
Previously.
Right.
Yeah, when they come on, they have two options, either the commission or a body politic takes them
Right.
over, or they become a district will take.
I just
them in.
wanted to be clear for those,
They'd be on-
the county had no, money put in, no government money, tax money put into the development of these systems.
Correct, yeah, they were all installed,
Right.
by the developers as far as the lines
Right.
and the treatment area and.
County
everything
didn't
like
pay to
that.
put them in.
Right, that's,
They had the laterals up to every one of the lots, and we have had some annexations here in the past,
Right.
but
Okay, got it.
So that's pretty much the upper valley. Do you have any other questions about that? We'll go on to kind of the lower valley. The lower valley, we have a little bit more sewer line and it's a little bit more of a moving target unfortunately right now because there's sewer line being installed daily out there, but you're looking at about 42,000, just a little under 43,000 linear feet or 8.14 miles of sewer line that we have out west. Total connections that we have available, about 467. And there's a total of 74 that are connected directly to Central Weber's main line.
I'm assuming that would really say lower valley.
Yes.
Oh, yep,
Oh, good catch, Commissioner.
Okay,
copy and
just wanted to
paste.
make sure I wasn't seeing double.
Yeah, sorry, yep, this is all the lower valley.
Okay.
So the monthly fee out west is, right now, it's $41.35. So it's a little bit different, and that changes about every July 1st as Central Weber's fees go up. So the fee that the county collects for the western part of the county is about $12. And we do that, that's our maintenance fee. So the remainder of that fee goes directly to Central Weber. We just collect that for them, kind of similar to like what you were just saying. We collect it, and so they don't have to bill everybody individually. That's what we get lucky to do. And that's gonna go up in, that will go up at July 1st, so that'll go up to, let's see. Central Weber's will about another $2 higher than that this coming July, so.
Do we need to look at raising our rate as well?
Yeah, so you were in here and I kind of mentioned it to them that we've already kind of talked with Scott and that's one of my things that's gonna be in process to try to get done by me and him June and bring it to either the end of June or 1st of July.
I hate raising fees on the people, but the numbers will speak for themselves.
Yeah.
So
But
that's.
you're aware Central Weber increased theirs.
Yeah, Central Weber, and then she sends me out a letter every year, or
Okay.
every 1st of the year, just saying what it's gonna be. And so this has already been through with Scott, and that's what kind of
Good.
instigated us
Okay.
looking at our fees going up.
I didn't want the county to have to eat that fee.
Exactly. So this is kind of an aerial map showing you the lower valley area and what the sewer line is that we have out there as far in place right now. This is Central Weber's main line. It kind of comes through like this. I need to color coordinate it next time for you so I can decipher it better, but it kind of zigzags through here. And then we have all these extensions coming off of it. And there's also extends over and down and catches the West Haven area, but all these other lines that you see off of it are all the ones that the county's actually over. So quite a bit, and there's quite a bit of development coming in this area, so continuing to grow through there. There's development over in this area that's gonna instigate probably another lift station that will have to come on as far as the county, and then another development up in this area as well. So
On the west,
this one right here is
Yeah.
called Ally Farms.
and they're putting in a lift?
We're gonna have to put in a lift station unless that sewer line gets in down 12th Street before, and then we may be able to grab it.
They're working on that right now.
Yeah, I know. So hopefully that falls in place.
The
It'd be nice.
previous development Chad's referring to, they've been talking to us for about 2 years now.
So they stopped, they went through the rezone process, and then I don't know if they're still in the rezone process or if they
Yeah.
got approved. Charlie would know that, but they're getting closer on the development
So they've
side.
been around for a while,
Well,
so.
Central's not taking any money. So.
Yep, any of the laterals off of this line, essentially they'll serve it by taking the sewage, but how it gets to them needs to be reserved. But same thing out there, either body politic or district taking it over, so. One thing I was gonna show you as well, how do I switch this? Okay. So we've been working on this. And it is a work in progress, but if you look at this, this is a GIS portal that has stormwater, but it also has all of the sewer in there as well. Seems like every time I tell Gary it's updated, it's not updated.
Is that on the website yet?
So this, I believe we have a link to this on the engineering website, but that's changed a little bit, so I'll have to double check.
This is not something, Stephanie, we make publicly available to
It's not?
individuals. I don't think so.
No, I thought that we did, so.
No, it's
apologize
not.
for that. So, but it does show all the little systems up in here as far as the upper valley. It's got a lot of stuff, but if you do go to GeoGizmo, you can come down underneath the engineering layers, and we do have the existing gravity sewer underneath it. And so it is color coded a little bit better and definitely not up to date as much, but shows all the lines like this, and then we can actually turn on the proposed lift station area, so everything in the red will show where one lift station area is. There's one down here, kind of a little bit of a brownish red. And then we've got a green area over here, which is where that Ally Farms is that I was telling you about, Stephanie, and then the blue area up here to the top. This pink area over here, where this development's kind of going in through Marriott Slitterville now. We may try to push that to their lift station over there.
That'd be great.
So if you are ever interested or anybody ever asks you, it is available. Have a lot of information on our webpage to help out.
Check.
So
Chad is underselling himself a little bit, commissioners. Chad's put a lot of effort into calculating all the existing ground elevations, looking at what the flow lines could be, and he's done a phenomenal job on this, so.
Attaboy.
Good job.
I don't think he's telling you the truth.
Not telling you.
So,
He is.
so when we go in to look at it, unfortunately, the only thing that we have, so when we're trying to look for these to locate where the lift station can be pushed and stuff, we have some old aerials from like 85, which is 2-foot contours, and so that's what Gary's referencing. We go off of that data and try to get an idea of, hey, where can we associate that lift station and service everything? You know, there's some unknowns and stuff that we don't go quite too far into. I mean, you could end it into a drainage, and then do you do a sump for the drainage or siphon or something? And those things we may not know until you get to that point. When we get to that point, kind of the idea that we've thought there, depending on how many people it is left to serve, hopefully it's a number, we're guessing below 30. We can go through and do something similar like Marriott Slitterville and just do an injector or low pressure sewer system just for those small amount of people. So we're not doing a lift station that encumbers the county or the future residents in that area. So that's kind of the idea. We'll let you know in 10 or 20 years if that was the right idea. But you know, it is just so you know, an educated guess. We've tried to put a lot of time and effort into it. So not always perfect, but.
That's great.
Or maybe it'll be Stephanie that'll get to.
No.
So that's kind of it as far as the upper and lower valley. I don't know if you have any other questions for me on that. It does, in the GeoGizmo, I don't believe we've got them putting the stuff here in the upper valley yet, but my focus has been more out here out west in this, so. This one does, so.
Good job.
That's about all I have to give you an
Great
update, I
update.
guess.
That's fantastic.
I mean, projects, I can go into that just a little bit. We don't have any huge projects. Looking, we've got a few lines, and maybe Josh can speak to this a little bit, but we're looking at going through and doing some routine cleaning and videoing of some of our lines. We have one line in Bailey Acres. We're looking at trying to get it repaired, right?
Yeah.
And one or two that are on the horizon to get them repaired as well, but not in the process quite yet, so. But how much line do you think we're doing this year in cleaning?
We wanted to do. Can't remember.
Usually we're somewhere around the 2,000 to 5,000 linear feet range.
Replacement or?
That's, they go in and flush it, so they'll hydro pressure wash
Just
through
video
the
it.
line and then they
Oh, got it.
video it. That gives us the option of looking if there's any damage to the pipe, any infiltration or any blockages in there as well that we need to look at fixing, so.
It's pretty helpful. Saves you a lot of money down the road.
Do you guys do that yourself?
We usually hire that out. There's 3 companies that we usually, send out a bid to get. We've got ProPipe, who's no longer around from what I hear.
Wow,
Yeah, I've heard they've kind of left the state.
yeah, Stephanie liked those guys.
And then there's Twin D that we use quite frequently, and Val Cotter and Sons are usually the 3 that we've really.
Val Cotter. You remember Val?
I do.
So. But they'll do that
Okay.
and get us a video on it, and then, which
Will
ProPipe
they?
usually
Will they get your?
never got it to us.
Right?
So they turned into more of a national company, if I remember right. So they were kind of based out of California, which made it a little bit more difficult. You're dealing with somebody there, but needing the information here.
Yeah.
So,
No results, don't know.
so that's pretty much it. Looks like we got 10 minutes before the next one.
No, actually, we have a,
You bet.
oh, yeah, we do. Any questions regarding commissioners, Commissioner Bolos? Commissioner Faur?
Thank you. Great information, Chad.
Oh, this is good information.
So is that
Josh,
your
you guys,
request, Commissioner Harvey?
well, let's do this again. Let's do this again in another
Sometime.
year.
We'll let Josh present next.
Another, well, just, but it's good to, it's always good to have the, where we were. What's happened now, and then where we plan on going.
Yep.
I think it's great. That's great, okay, well. Much as I'd like to stay and visit. Let's all entertain another motion to saunter for 10 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Great, well, motion to second, all in favor?
Aye.
I will return at 2:00. All right, commissioners, we're back today. Again, just as a reminder, is our Monday, April 22nd work session. We're at 2 o'clock and we're gonna move now to the Pineview West Sewer Improvement District. Chad Meyerhofer, Gary Myers, Sean Wilkinson, Craig Brandt's here, Josh Bryant's here. Welcome back. Let's have you go ahead, Chad, and start this presentation, please.
Okay. First, I don't know, Craig, if we need to approve the minutes first off, or?
That is the second item there is to approve minutes from October.
Would you like to take that on?
You know, just a second.
Hold on.
Commissioners, before you go, I'll entertain a motion. We need to break from our work session and go into a Pineview West Sewer Improvement District meeting. They're both public meetings, but I'll entertain a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second,
Motion and a second, all in favor?
aye.
Motion carries. We're now in a Pineview West Sewer Improvement District meeting with the same members for the, just to be legally good. Thanks, Mr. Brandt, for being here to take those minutes. Now, Mr. Meyerhofer, go ahead, please, sir.
Do we want to approve the minutes from the prior meeting?
Well, it's not on our thing, but
The next page, the next page.
thank
There you
you.
go.
Ah, here we go. It's called to order.
So, yes, so am I still the chair of this?
Yeah.
All right. Wonder if that was still correct. Okay,
Got you.
all right, so,
I'm happy about that.
I'd like to welcome those with us today. This is Monday, the 22nd day of April. This is the regular meeting of the Board of the Pineview West Sewer Improvement District. Commissioner Gage Farrar will be chairing. With me is Commissioner Sharon Bolos and Chair Jim Harvey. I'd look for a motion to approve the minutes for our last meeting held on October 16th, 2023.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Minutes are approved. Let's go to discussion. Update for Radford Hills and Crimson Ridge. Chad Meyerhofer.
All right, I'm gonna switch over here.
Time-
and share
time's yours.
again. Okay. So this is the Pineview West sewer system. Of course, Commissioner Irby, I've messed up again, and that's supposed to say Pineview West. But once again, the copy error. So the Pineview West sewer system consists of Radford Hills and Crimson Ridge. There are kind of two different systems, and I'll kind of go through that here in just a second. But the total sewer line in these two systems we've got is about 10,303 linear feet, or just a little under two miles. There's 67 connections available in there. And I think that's gone up now too, with the annexation of Crimson Ridge Phase 2. So, right now the monthly fee is $32 for those that are in Radford Hills, and then those that are in Crimson Ridge is $50 a month. So or $40, sorry, a month. So just to give you a little bit of an idea, this is Radford Hills that sits off to the kind of the south there in the area. This is where their drain field's located right here. And then this green line that kind of outlines each of the lots, those are the lots. And of course, unfortunately, this is a little bit of an older design of the system. They've kind of changed things a little bit up here at the top, but gives you an idea of the areas that are actually incorporated in that actually discharge. So when this development came in, this was probably in the early 90s, I believe, or mid 90s that this one came in. And some of the lots percolated and some of them didn't. And so that's the reason why they ended up having to do the community drain field down here. Since then, we have annexed, I believe, this lot 11 here, this lot 34 right here, and then the most recent one that we annexed was this one right here on lot 28. So just to kind of maybe give you an idea, if you're driving up by there, that drain field's located right on this parcel right here. So, you can kind of see the actual lines in there. Most of these large community drain field systems are comprised of two different drain fields. And we switch this one, actually every year there's a valve right up in here. So we have this area down here and this area here. So it gives one area a chance to recoup and load the other side. So We are looking at some projects on this one on Radford Hills of coming in here and installing a septic tank here. Due to items that come through the tops of the manhole lids or individuals that aren't pumping frequently enough, we feel it's a good idea.
Great
to
idea.
put another septic tank in there, so we're not killing that drain field, and I think the price will outweigh that. That's something that's been a little bit in me, trying to work out access through UDOT to get on there to do it, and with this property owner here, so that we can get in there to do that work. So, other than that, the system seems to be functioning pretty good. I think, are we cameraing this one this year?
Yeah.
Okay. So I will go back here real quick.
The long-range plan on that one, Crimson, we probably should, with those, once we consider how those work, eventually start adding into a kitty over time, so whether it's 10 or 20 or 50 or even 80 years, and eventually that can tie into a sewer.
Yeah, and we actually kind of had a little bit of conversation. Do this, so you have a little bit of you know, Wolf Creek did service up to a point right in this area here, and so we have had conversations, see if that was a potential, and like you're saying, it does come down to a fund, and maybe that's something we can incorporate into a fee.
Yeah, I'm not for big assessments, and so over time, though, I think it would be well for us to plan an eventuality.
Yeah.
Because we've gotta maintain all those, make sure that we are protecting that body of water up there.
Yeah. So to give you an idea, Crimson Ridge, and I'll go to a little bit more here. I thought this would be easier to show you through the aerial, but Crimson Ridge is essentially this area over through here. It all comes down, and there's a little plant right here that does a level of treatment. So it's the Urenco, and we reduce the nitrogen loadings down by quite a bit. It is permitted through the state, so we get samples on this and submit them to them right now twice a year. It discharges in two different ways. Discharges to a community drain field that's right here, and same thing, it's actually got a diversion box that'll divert it to different fields. And then it also has a drip field, so a drip irrigation field over here, so it's pressurized over there in the summertime. And so a lot of those nutrients don't actually make it into the ground, they'll get taken up through the plant and through like photosynthesis and stuff like that. So just to kind of show you what that looks like as far as plan view. That's the treatment plant area. So it's got a little building that sits right over here. It comes down into, these are what are called pods. So there's like 7 different pods, and you got some recirculation tanks here that recirculate the wastewater up over top of a media, similar to like your trickling filters and that at Central Weaver, and it does a level of treatment. It comes over and it has some valves right here. So it either comes into the dosing tank for the drip field, or it comes out to the side this way, goes to the diversion box that goes off into the drain fields. So I did have them too also on this one, and this one's installed, do a septic tank over in this area for any of those salts and sands and gravel that may be coming off the roadway into the top of the manholes. So, and then the drip field actually is pressurized out this way. Give you an idea of what that looks like. This is that plant we were just looking at, now kind of reverse view. This way is north, if you're looking this way. Last time we were looking kind of more southerly. These were the 2 existing drain fields here till they did phase 2, and they upgraded it to this drain field here, this one here, and then a little bit onto the bottom here. The drip field previously used to sit right here, and they chose to develop that lot, and so that's when they moved the drip field over to this area right here. So a lot of improvements up there. The drip field ran for a little bit this last year while they switched over the drain field area, and I guess we'll see if there was any problems here soon as.
So can they run that drip field? Can they take all the fluid?
So it can actually run all through the year, but we don't want to run it through when like the snow melts run off and stuff. So we typically just looked at just running it through the summer months.
Makes sense.
So we'll probably turn that on coming up in May sometime and run till about November, I think is about when we usually shut it off. So
Good to know.
That's about it for those systems up there.
Okay.
Oh. What do I want to do? All right,
Is that your presentation?
yep, that's our presentation on that. If you have any questions concerning.
All right, board member questions.
None for me, Mr.
Board
Chair.
member.
I don't have any.
Okay, looks like you're off the hook there.
Oh, there is one other project too in Crimson Ridge. There's a line up in there where the pipes come separated just a little bit. It's not causing any problems or anything like that. So, but we do have that on our radar to keep a watch on, and we're trying to get that repaired as well. So
Okay.
the nice thing with that up there is it's all effluent that's coming out of there. So each home has their own septic tank dealing with the solids. So
Right.
it's mostly just effluent that's coming down that line. So.
Yeah, that's one of the better systems, I think, in the valley,
They,
from my experience.
so this one and the Trappers Crossing
Yeah.
system, they are both the same way, and they do a level of treatment. I mean, you're reducing your nitrogen loading down to like 10 milligrams per liter.
Right.
And your BOD and TSS, I believe, our limits are 20 milligrams per liter. And those are coming down from, 100 to 200 milligrams per liter. So it does a fairly good, I mean, especially that close to the reservoir helps out with the level of treatment on it.
That's good. Both of those are fairly close. Yeah, that's a good thing. So even though this Crimson, we talked about being in Pineview West, they're not putting any effluent into Pineview, into Radford's.
No, they're two
Drainfield, is
completely
that correct?
separate, different
Yeah, okay.
systems. Yep.
All right. Just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. Okay. No additional questions. Let's go to public comments. Anyone online, or I don't see any members of the public in the commission room here. Seeing none, I would entertain our next motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Second,
And all those in favor, please say aye.
hi.
Aye.
We're now adjourned. Thanks.
Great.
Commissioner.
Commissioners,
Good presentations. Appreciate it.
we'd like to, I'd entertain a motion to leave the sewer improvement district meeting and go back into our work session.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Our next discussion is a discussion on the rezone application for Wilder-Braiva rezone at approximately 600 south, 4700 west, Tammy Adalot, Charlie Ewert, Rick Grover, Liam Keough, and Trek Leverage.
Thank you. Hey, Greg. Thanks very
We'll wait for those of you online. We're waiting for those members to come into the room, and we're ready to go.
Where you want us, right here?
Sure. Who's Trek?
This guy,
And you are?
Phil
Phil. For the record, Phil
Holland.
Holland.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Great, thank you. We've already announced your presentation, but we're gonna turn the time over to Rick Grover.
Thank you. Chair, members of the commission, these gentlemen are looking at pursuing a rezone request. And so if you're okay, we'll just turn it over to them and let them kind of explain what they're looking at here.
Very good, thank you. Go ahead.
So I'm actually trying to think in my mind if you've seen this property before. I know the planning commission has. And really what we're looking at is we're right in that core sector of West Weber. We had another piece that was before you last month.
Excuse me,
Yep.
Sean, would you mind running the map here for just a moment
You got it.
and put us out into that? You're welcome to share that online if you would. Miss Adalot, do you have maps and things for us here?
Think you just like to have me be in charge. Yes. I do.
Rick,
have
what's our
that.
address?
600 south and 4700. Rick, will you hit that door?
Usually it is.
Charlie, do you want me to hand out what we have in right now versus concept plans?
Sure.
Okay, this is what. Kind of what we've been looking at, commissioners. You can find those around. And then the developer that's looking to take over this project, I don't know if that's official yet or not.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. These are their two concept plans.
It's the same or
No,
different?
it's different.
They're different.
That's different than that, yeah.
This is what I got here.
We're getting another one. Hang on. Another one. This is different in pages.
And then another copy of those guys. And something else I wanted to hand you, because it just, sometimes it's easier on paper, is the street regulating plan for that area.
Share this.
Okay, you're gonna have to share.
So.
Okay, all right, street
one are you looking
regulating
at?
plan.
Street regulating.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys want to do that.
Okay, you're gonna have to point out.
Make sure we're on the right path when you're talking.
Okay, I'm gonna actually, Charlie, did you want to hand it over to this windmill group or?
Probably a good idea to have
Okay.
present.
Okay,
Okay, now I'm trying to remember if the original, which is this one,
no, this,
has been before the commissioners yet.
Not yet.
I think
okay.
that's the original, or is that your guys's?
That's ours, that's our
Okay,
current.
all right.
So this was passed through the planning commission. We picked the land up recently and we said, okay, let's kind of really duplicate this, only change the plan a little bit, which is this one. And this is consistent with the current general plan. We, last week, and maybe it's been 2 weeks, we went to the planning commission with actually another idea that we had, which is this plan that you have in front of you.
That's different, that's this one.
Here, we have.
And it was all really based on kind of some of the smart growth concepts that the general plan introduced. We own the property across the street and to the south. And we just got approved for that. Maybe you don't,
Across 4700
Yeah.
west and to the south.
yeah, right, so just down one piece,
He's right there.
down, let's call it three, that one right there.
Okay.
Which had, very similar to this plan. It had a variety of housing types, large lots. In the dead center, it had some smaller lots. And then out front on 4700 west, it had townhomes. One of the things we started to review, and work with staff on is the concept of how smart growth comes into that general plan concept. Now, normally, if we were working on another piece outside of this area, we would probably say, yeah, we wouldn't come and ask for any additional density or anything else. The good part about this location is it's very central to that West Weber area. In the general plan, which is how we got the same density across the street. And so as we started to pursue that, we felt like, okay, well, let's go talk to the planning commission about this. And Trek went to that meeting. I think some of the staff was there and they could probably give you their 2 cents. But they were at first a little unreceptive of this concept that has the townhomes. And then as we started to talk about some of the benefits, they said, hey, you know what? This is after an hour conversation. They said, we probably would support something like this. But we would love for you to go talk to the commissioners first. And so that's what we're doing. So now we're up to speed on what we're here for. We would love your input on this site plan, this plan. And I just want to point out a couple of the major benefits. This plan's great too. Fits within the current general plan. This one actually does too. Charlie, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Under certain conditions, if we follow the smart growth plan, which we think that this does. So what this does is where your traffic burden is, and I always think in terms of, okay, 10 years from now, what does this community look like? And we think, along with planning professionals across America over the past 10 years, they said that a life of a community is better if there's a variety of housing. And we've seen that in our own lives. If a home builder built 80 homes in a subdivision 20 years ago, they really look all the same. And they've passed on generation to generation, and as they get down, people stop taking care of their yards, pride of ownership isn't there as it was 20 years prior. We think that this allows for some of that. Where we have the entryway, it will be homeowners association. The landscape will be taken care of in perpetuity. And so we think that the livelihood and conceptually the health of that neighborhood gets better because of a variety of housing. Which also meets some of the smart growth concepts, and I just wanted to read a couple of those. Provisions for a wide variety of housing options. And this is in the general plan. Use of lot averaging to create smaller lots housing that responds to needed moderate income housing, which we think that this plan does. Strong trail network with excellent trail connectivity that prioritizes bicycling and pedestrians over vehicles, which this does. And we've also, to our south, there is also some amenities that haven't been put in, which they don't correspond to our development. But I think that it could be a win-win for the county and us to finish some of those improvements, including pedestrian trails. Strong street connectivity. If you look at our plan, in my 25 years of development, I've never seen a development that has such connectivity through it. Usually, we all want to live on cul-de-sacs. We don't have cul-de-sacs on this, and we're okay with that. We think that that's part of the long-term vision for this area. But sometimes a development takes a toll because it stubs to everybody else, which is important. Someone's got to step in first and provide those
First in.
utilities. Totally, and we agree with that. And so we think that we're hitting all of these points for smart growth. Just a couple other ones, large and meaningful open space. We'd likely turn that detention basin into an amenity for that entire community. Couple other things, the burden. This is. Excuse this. The burden of sewer out here is immense, which in our other project across the street, we're gonna provide a spot for that sewer lift station. And this development only helps that. As I think we're looking at $1 million facility for that. I think that the general plan helps those utilities come about. And we think that this project only helps that. So these are some of the things that we wanted to discuss with you today. Some of the technical stuff for, okay, it's outside of the general plan, but it could be within the general plan without amending the general plan. I think Charlie could probably help us out, but more than anything, we want to just put this in front of you and say, yeah, I don't think we're trying to go highly dense. I think we're trying to introduce a variety of housing types that would fit in this area.
That concludes your presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's hear staff weigh in on this, please. Who wants to lead? Emily, you want to lead or?
Well, let me show you where this is located on the street regulating plan. So further south, you're gonna see more of that kind of mixed residential. And the reason why this is coming before you is because it's located a little bit outside of our That's where we're located, if that's clear. So everyone knows, I think as staff, we've discussed it a bit and I think we feel that the planning commission is asking some good questions and it wouldn't be, I don't know, too conflicted. I don't know. Can you put it better than I can, Charlie?
So the planning commission, they had a couple of different thoughts, but one of their thoughts was, well, we don't even want to waste our time looking at townhomes. The commission's not automatic, no. So go make sure that they're not an automatic, no. But the planning commission, all of them said, we'd at the very least like to look at this and potentially give a positive recommendation on the townhome version. If they don't give a positive recommendation on the townhome version, the other version is one that they've already essentially said yes to, so I don't see them saying no to it in the next meeting. But they just wanted to hear from you guys, whether or not you'd be comfortable with townhomes. We've got something similar going on down in Navy Meadows with the townhomes down there. Now they'll be coming back to you guys, so you know, but they've cut out quite a few of the extra units. In fact, I think they cut out almost all the extra units they were asking for. So they're still doing townhomes, but their lot averaging ends up being the same amount of units overall, I think. But this is very similar to that kind of circumstance where it's just on the other side of the canal. It's not in a multifamily area. You can see on the land use map, that is that yellow where the mouse is. Here.
That's the map, okay, yeah.
That's the parcel there, and the yellow basically means that it's intended to be 15,000 square foot average lot sizes. Street connectivity allows them to do 15,000 square feet based on the gross acreage, not the net. The green crosshatch that you see going over there, that's agricultural protection area, so they'll have to come to you guys and get it removed from the APO, which isn't particularly hard to do. But beyond that, the question of whether or not townhomes belong, they're proposing them right about here, is really a policy question for you guys. Over here, across the street in the subdivision that they were just talking about, they got some townhomes along the street. We're planning for mixed use commercial and even mixed multifam residential in that darker orange.
Don't forget that senior stuff, Charlie.
Yeah, oh,
Would you
and,
talk to these people?
yeah, we talking about patio homes as well.
Okay.
Yep. So a variety of different types of housing. And that's just on the other side of the canal. And here we are just to the north of the canal where these guys have already been approved for townhomes right here. You could almost throw a stone and hit the other property. But there's a lot of opportunities for giving that the developer has. We know we want to see the canal corridor as a linear parkway / trail corridor. It crosses other people's properties right now, so asking them to install that on other people's property, it doesn't cross their property directly. That'd be a pretty big ask, but I don't think it's outside of your control, especially if they're asking for a little bit more density. And even donating a little bit more to the park district. And to help them put together a park out here might even be appropriate. So you can see that between the junior high school, the proposed junior high school property, which is just to the east, and the existing elementary school, we're thinking maybe this is good park property at some point. And having them between two schools might help with ongoing operations and maintenance, maybe with some shared agreements with the school district at some point in time. So there's some opportunities for some greater givings here, above and beyond the street connectivity that they're already proposing.
Charlie, will you explain to the commission how they would be accomplishing this? Would it be through a rezone development agreement?
It would be, yeah. And so we heard when we talked about the Neva Meadows project, we heard from you guys loud and clear. We don't want to change this map. Not for this type of change, at least. And so we can accomplish townhomes through a development agreement, kind of a master plan development overlay type of development agreement.
Tammy, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
Do the numbers of units interest you at all as far as the differences between the different plans? Charlie was in the planning commission meeting, that's why the things. So in the original plan, you're looking at approximately 63 units. In the plan with the townhomes, approximately 97, be the difference in density. But I don't have any more to add to what Charlie's already stated.
Thank you. Are there any others that would like to make it?
I do have one question. On 600 north, you're showing in this drawing right here that this road right here is jogging up and it looks like it's connecting into another one. Is there a reason why you, on the other ones, you're going down lower?
So I think, different engineer is the main reason. But I think that connectivity and that cross access would probably be something we do. So I don't know if his new plan, he thought through that specifically.
Okay, just wondering, because on the other two, that's left off and it just goes straight. So, okay. Well, that's a minor thing. It's more the density question. Thank you.
Great, Mr. Keel,
Yeah.
Goodson,
No.
okay. Commissioner Faur, I'll look to you first for comments.
Sure, okay. So the first thing I wanna put on the table, you said this is approved under current zone.
Yeah, this one right here.
So my understanding, unless it's changed in the last couple of weeks, you're in an A1 zone right now. Correct? So when you say that's approved, I don't think that's necessarily accurate to the public. Because part of getting to that plan requires some additional work on your part, some additional.
Yeah,
So I wanna be clear, if you think that's approved now, we've got a problem.
yeah, and I guess and planning commission doesn't approve, you're right. So they recommended approval for this
Right.
development, yeah.
So I just wanted to be clear on that, Mr. Chair, so
Thank you.
no misunderstanding of planning. That's your understanding too, Charlie.
Correct.
And that's been communicated to the petitioner here.
Yep.
Um,
And we haven't started negotiations on a development agreement.
Right.
For this one.
so in recent discussions, I've had both the- my planning staff and a couple of planning commission members. I'm not really excited about starting to put townhomes on the 12th Street corridor till we know exactly what 12th Street's gonna look like. For a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't think that meets at all with the general plan. I don't care what you give. You haven't shown to me what the give to get to the R115 is, let alone to take that up 30 plus units, Tammy?
Another 50%. 23 units.
So that's a big increase for me on, and then what about improving 4,700? I mean, that's to have 97 homes come out on a fairly busy road. You know, again, it doesn't make any sense to me.
We've required
Unless
that.
you could prove to me that that's gonna be mitigated.
Yeah, I think UDOT would require us to complete that frontage.
And if UDOT didn't, we would. So our general plan calls for that to be, I think, 130 something foot wide right of way. So we'll be expecting them to dedicate that right of way difference, either to the county or to
Well,
you.
I understand the right of way, but what about the improvement?
And then they'll need to install the improvements on.
So I guess the only way that I'm gonna be on board with that is that 4,700 gets improved. And I'm not just talking about right of way, I'm talking about asphalt, curb and gutter, sidewalk, whatever. Cause I don't want future commissions to get stuck in, okay, that we see now with UDOT, why didn't you, make the developer pay for that? UDOT goes away, then they now come back on Weber County to pay for that.
Yeah.
We see that happening today in other parts. So to me, that's a non-starter for me, but, anyway, I just prefer that we make a direction toward higher density in some type of corridor off of 12th Street first, before we start venturing out into other areas. That's my thought.
Great, Commissioner Bolos.
I agree with Commissioner Furrow on that, but I need to understand the numbers too. The original that was recommended for approval has 63 lots, it looks like.
So the the lot number, wasn't something that the planning commission considered. They
Okay,
knew that they could potentially get, I think it was like 74 or
okay, so
75.
this one has 74. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it goes up to 97. When you talk about lot averaging, and again, I agree with Commissioner Furrow that I would rather see this develop along 12th Street before we expand it onto other streets, the multifamily. But even if we were to consider that, then I think the lot averaging needs to keep it within the allowed 74. I mean, if we're actually really truly trading something, then we would be allowing larger lots to compensate for those smaller ones. That's where I am with that. But I'm not completely sold just because I think it's a side, I mean, I know it's a major road, but it's a side road from where we have, according to the general plan map, where we have allocated for multifamily housing.
Okay. Does that give you some ideas, or do you want me to have a stab at it too?
Yeah, I mean, that gives us the guidance we need, I think. In townhomes, they certainly have everybody has either a negative or positive connotation when it comes to that.
Please understand that when this overall master plan was put together, those things were considered. So you don't have a commission that's absolutely opposed to it.
Yeah.
You're asking for higher density in an area that we wanted lower density, or that was proposed for lower density. So you can talk all you want about having that higher density there, but it's not where I would, that's not where we want it. That's not as far out there. What they're saying is let's see that higher density developed in the area that currently the master plan shows that it's going to be there. That's what we're saying. For right now, for me, if the planning commission were to give you this plan, which is third average, I wouldn't have a problem with that, but anything more than that right now.
Is this one third average too?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one.
So this one
Uh-huh.
has a few more lots.
But
but
you've
it's
got
still-
those two big jobs right there.
Either, I'm okay with either one.
So for me, that one looks better one to me, but that's just, it shows a little more foresight and things on there. So you're asking for my opinion. And also, I want it to be said in this public meeting too. For you to hear and everybody to hear, when you're gonna start getting into some higher density, no matter where it is, you're gonna hear me say things like deed restriction, owner occupied units. So corporations don't come in. So young families do actually have a chance to come in and buy a home. And so it's gonna be an owner occupied unit. Okay?
Sounds great. We'll make sure we get that in.
That's gotta be, that's just me, I'm just speaking for myself. You're also, I've said it already in this meeting, though, but I don't want to leave out those who are turning older. I want them to be able to retire into a comfortable place, into a patio. Everybody comes in and talks about towns, but nobody comes in, and very few people come in and talk
One
about
level.
patios. One level, and that's gonna be a huge deal for me. You saw it, I thought I had to hammer home when JDC came in and we said he wanted those 400, and we said 300, and 200 of those doors had to be senior.
Yeah.
So 66% of them had to be senior, so just know, so you know where I'm going, so you don't get surprised there. So,
Appreciate that.
any other question? Very good, thank you for your discussion, Phil.
Okay, and then just thank you for your time and we appreciate it. We're fans of the general plan. We think based on us coming to you 3 years ago, working on 30 lots and trying to
Yes.
pay for $1 million sewer station. Yeah, I think,
Don't just
The
build
county's doing the right
just
thing.
build $5 million houses out there.
There you go.
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll be fine.
And then just to clarify, this is the plan. So this is the consistent with the
Whatever works
general
in the
plan.
plan.
Okay. And so hopefully we'll see you soon on that.
Yeah, however you want it, whatever time works out best for you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, commissioners, we're just approaching our next piece. Let's move the players in the room and we'll move on to item number 6.
Wow, we're flying today.
You know, yeah, I gotta tell you, Gage, I'm sure glad you get to stand up and shuffle your feet.
Did you want me to?
Well, you didn't say if you think I'm gonna just sit here and,
I didn't call it a hoax,
no,
or I didn't use the word Judas too much.
Can you use it too?
Hey, but thanks for watching out for seniors. I'm glad you bring that up and not me, you know, because I'd get painted.
Gage is the first one to arrive there.
There's a lot of people, I've got a lot of friends that are moving to these communities where people to mow their lawn for them. You know what I mean?
One level's kind of the key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
wife reminded me of that every time she has to go up the
Yeah.
stairs and down the stairs and up the stairs, yeah,
and a pickleball court,
yeah,
and a pickleball court.
yeah. Well, that's a good thing.
Christie, if you can hear us, we're still waiting for Mr. Fowers and Bahi Ramazaganen.
Water, anyone?
Well,
Big cash. Hey, look who's here. How are you?
I don't know if I printed enough.
What do you mean? Don't come in short-handed.
Greg, you need water?
Printed,
You certainly wouldn't come in short-handed, would you?
well, I don't know.
What brings you in?
I didn't know how many I just a couple of minutes. Let's see.
Hey, I volunteered you to participate.
Enough. Oh.
We need one more over here, Gage, and I can share.
For what?
What do we need?
It's created QR code.
Oh, I don't hear. Hard time.
It's an easy one
Who, Bahi?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
for Harvey.
All right. Okay. See you there. Yeah, I did.
There we go. Hey, look at that.
I probably don't need one.
No waste.
Ooh, I need
You could create a QR code, right?
I'll share with Profit.
Ooh, just a website. Did you guys get Bill the videos he needs? Okay.
Look at this.
Oh, Scott's here.
Scott Plummer. Wow.
Don't treat Scott right. I do treat Scott right. Although I went in there and said, why are you sending emails out so early? Cause then you email me right after. Am I good to go?
Hold on there, Bronco. All right. We're at item number 6, commissioners. This is an hour long.
No, 30 minutes, but I
Okay,
hope I don't
this
even
is a
need that.
discussion regarding additional funding for Metasource OCR program. Bahi, our heir apparent, recorder and surveyor, with Mr. Quinn Fowers, Mr. Scott Park. Welcome. Bahi, please move forward.
Thank you. Currently, we are using in the recorder's office a program that's been created in the 90s. What started this whole ask is we are getting a new program written by IT right now. And we've done a lot of asking, and we're trying to create something that if we're gonna get something now, I don't want it to be the same thing, because there's a lot of new software out there, a lot of things that can get us to where we want.
Off the shelf.
Right.
Okay.
So first thing we went to was AI system. And we went and we talked to a few companies that offered AI systems, which are really great, but they're very expensive. There are systems now where you can scan a document, it reads the whole document and transfers everything without even a human eye on it. Gives you a confidence reading. You can pick that confidence reading level. If you believe it's 96, it scans through our whole database. If everything matches, it goes through. The price on that is way expensive.
What does that mean? $40, 400,000,
$300,000 of an initial and $100,000 every year.
Okay.
We don't like that.
That's about $1 million after 7 years,
Mm-hmm.
which at the bottom over the first page, I show how many documents we're doing. In 2021, we were doing 94,000 documents. That's also during those low interest rates, which
93,000, you mean?
yes,
Yeah.
93.
We're rounding.
I round up. And now we're coming back down to normalcy. We're coming back down into what we've normally been doing. We're doing 200 to 300% of documents recorded daily, and it was putting us behind. So with this new system, with the AI system, it was going to be a few dollars a document. And what we did was we ended up
going and talking to Metasource. Metasource currently is who we use for our image warehouse and all the stuff we have that. So if you come to the second page right here, just for an example, this is everything that right now we're currently manually entering in. The upper left-hand corner is the mailing address, which our ladies have to open up a USPS website. They verify the address is current, and then they enter it. They enter in the document type, the grantors, the grantee, and that big paragraph, which is not always this big, but I wanted to give you something for an idea of the ones that take a lot of time. They have to hand type all this in. It gets hand typed, and then it gets verified, and then it gets a final check. What Metasource offers is it's a data extraction of the document. So currently with the same page that shows all the red, all they would be, we would have one person, and instead of typing anything, we would have, they're implementing right now where if it's a warranty deed, it would tell you the things to highlight. So more or less a text or a name, the mouse would just cover, and it instantly takes that text recognition and puts it into our system right away, into the fields we want.
So why, let me ask you a question. Why are we, what does this do? Because the deeds are prepared at the title company. They send you the deed. Why are we retyping anything?
Well, right now, we have to have this we have to have this description. The title company doesn't send us the description. They just send us the PDF deed. And we don't get, we don't
send you description. It's gonna be lot XXX, something.
lot X, sometimes it's a split of a parcel.
Yeah, but how, most of the time, this is a legal, it's a very, you're not a lot of lot and block. You got a subdivision, lot numbers. It's a lot XY Casey acre subdivision, Huntsville, Utah.
Yes, a lot of the smaller ones are, but also as you get subdivisions, prior to the subdivision, they're taking that field and they're splitting that parcel. So then we have a new
Okay.
legal description that has to be typed in.
Well, I guess I'm asking, why are we retyping it? I mean, the warranty deed is prepared by the title company.
Mhm.
That's their job.
Mhm.
That's what their insurance, that's what they're getting paid to do. Why are we retyping their work? Doesn't that first off, lead to error? I just don't understand why we're duplicating service.
If they would send it to us, that would be great. But each parcel number has a legal description tied to it.
Okay,
So every index in our, everything that we have to manually index is by parcel number and legal description.
okay,
So if there's a new legal description, it does get typed into our system. It supersedes the tax description. So if a new description comes in, we have to have that on our file.
all right.
They don't send it via electronic, they bring it in by paper.
Even if they do it electronically, it's a PDF at that time. We
Oh,
don't,
PDF, Gage, it's not a.
yeah, it's just a deed or a
Right.
PDF or hard copy, or we get hard copies and we get
That's a lot of
digital.
extra work.
But we don't get, we don't have something that just takes that and skims it over to put into our system as of
Okay.
now.
Okay,
So with Metasource,
so what you're telling, so this is your system. This goes into your system.
yeah, so this is just a deed, but yeah, we take all this and put it into our system.
All right. Okay,
So with Metasource, we already work with them with the image warehouse and all that stuff. So we went to them. They do offer an AI system, but what they actually said was we should wait on all the AI systems because Microsoft AI is coming, they're the forefront of all AI. And they are the ones that could possibly give us an AI system, but what they do offer, which is a data extraction program, is a one-time fee of $31,800. One time for the implementation only. We already have 5 licenses existing that could use this. It's the implementation of what document, what we need to take of what fields is where they're getting us that charge.
okay,
So what this could do is more, first of all, it takes no typing, except when there's corrections on a legal description. Sometimes even the title company gives you a legal description that's not right and the bearing's wrong. So we have to bracket that to say we understand what you meant, but we have to bracket that. It takes the man hours of just all the manual entering to where I can use those people for different man hours of double checking, verifying and vetting other parts of the records just to make sure they're good. I have the USPS address where they already do that, with this program, as they highlight the address, it gets sent out to USPS automatically and comes back verified. So we're saving those hours of every time they have to go and check the legal or the address is there. What I hope it does is less input. I'd love to phase out a position in the future with attrition. Eventually, if it is, as long as this is really the recordings don't come back up to these numbers here. And we're there, we probably don't need that many people there. What it will do too is the legal description, as it's already in the system, as it goes and works through the workflow currently right now. They're not able to implement new parcel numbers till it comes all the way back to a different department, because that legal description is not already in there. This would already give it to where the parcel numbers, so subdivision getting created, we would already have that to tie those parcel numbers to it for the new subdivision gets recorded that day. Our effective date for title companies, we will be so much faster that our effective date on title commitment should be hopefully a week to 2 out. Right now, we're 3 weeks out.
So what you're saying is if we spent $31,000 in one-time money, you're hoping through attrition, we would be able to eliminate a position in your department
Mm-hmm,
and within a year or two.
mm-hmm. That's one of the pros. I mean, all the other pros is
Plus all a little more accurate.
we're gonna be faster.
You'll be able to copy and paste what's written in PDF into a format where you could copy and paste and put that in there. Well, that's pretty. Commissioner Bolos,
I agree, that's really efficient.
any
You have
questions?
Scott Park here for a reason, because you don't have the money for it.
I have to-
So,
Find out if we got money before we
Well,
talk about it.
he's
If there
got-
was money for it, you wouldn't be here.
Correct.
He has a contingency fund, that's what he's gonna say.
That's exactly what I'm gonna say. So we started with $500,000 in there. We've spent 90,000 of it so far, so we have 410,000. This would have to come from the contingency fund. There's really nowhere else. We would not give it to the recorder's office. We'd actually give it to IT, because IT would be paying for it. Earmarked or, designated for this
We're always
software.
growing his budget.
cancel the party.
Just because we're trying to keep all these types of software renewals in
In
IT.
one
so
door
they
out
can
the other.
Be on top of it. Yeah, just a pass through, right? So, but he doesn't have the money in his budget to absorb it this year. With all, I'm trying to get him, I keep harassing him to get Office 365 up and running, so. He's got lots. I know. But he doesn't have money in his budget to carve out another 30, that's just rounded to $32,000. So if this is a software that you wanted to do, it would be $32,000 out of the contingency fund, into IT's budget to.
Where would we put that for its implementation of tools that we already have? Would that still be software?
I just put it in software 763,000. Yeah.
Ah,
760,
Yes, we would.
does that answer your question, Commissioner?
which is not SaaS,
Well,
right?
answers most of it, but I've got
It's
a
not
question
SaaS.
for Mr. Quinn.
Okay, there you go. Well,
So,
break yourself.
have you looked, is this program gonna do what he tells us it is? I mean, is this vaporware?
No, this would actually take advantage of tools that we already have and just implement and optimize the technology for sure,
Would you say this is a good recommendation?
for sure.
Okay, that's really what I wanted to hear.
We're using the same tool with the contracts, right? We're already a bit further
Storing
ahead.
the contracts.
Yeah, for storing the contracts and indexing, and it's the same.
Quinn says good, I'm good.
Oh, well, we also need,
In that case.
Wait,
Commissioner,
we're not
Commissioner,
dipping into that contingency fund too much more.
Commissioner Bolos.
Okay, I appreciate you talking about attrition, because as we get closer to our next budget, I think we have to have those conversations, and I'm okay to spend money if it's gonna save us money in the future all the time. It's just forward thinking, and unless, I don't think any of us wanna talk about another tax increase.
No,
Be the kind of things that we have to look at.
I'm
I
not
think
sure about that.
something that's gonna pay off in the future in the way of attrition.
Oh, yeah.
so, that's 3 yeses.
Okay, I will put the budget change through KISSFlow today.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
This year.
I did try to go to the end of the year, but they wouldn't do any implementation or anything with the contract
Until they got this part.
Got it, no
So we'll
problem.
Try.
We get it. We get it. Sometimes those happen.
Well, they just want money, they want to be paid, I get it.
Thank you.
Zupa. Thank you, boy. Got a little dicey there.
Thanks, Monty.
Hey, that's the perfect thing. When you get the deal, stand up.
I feel like
That's how you do it.
What's next time I'll just have.
When you close the deal,
What's
guess what?
Get up, leave the room. Order. Okay, commissioners, because we've got so many people on the next one, I'll entertain a motion to saunter
So moved.
till 3:15.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're sauntering till 3:15. Go ahead, please. Okay, here we are. It's our commission work session on this Monday, the 22nd of April. Well, it's 3:15 and we're gonna do a discussion and purchase of a development rights conservation easements for open space in Ogden Valley. So this one is, this is for Ogden Valley. You're okay, just relax. We have Sean Wilkinson, Rick Grover, Charlie Ewert, Bill Colbabe, Gary Myers, Jessica Clark, Cortland Erickson, Chris Crockett, Scott Murray, Ogden Valley Parks Board Leadership.
Okay.
Okay, Charlie, go ahead.
I just wanted to lead off, just asking you guys a couple of questions about how you want to go about doing, the process of, looking to do conservation easements or, purchase of development rights or whatever the program is that we, finalized. We met as internally as staff to try and work through or sort through some of the ways that we can organize this effort. And it became a little clear that we might have a few more questions for you guys than we have, answers. So we just wanted to kind of nail a couple things down before we get running with this stuff. First question is, is there a specific question that you guys would like us to ask the public in the survey? Are we saying, are you willing to put some money towards this, or are you willing to be taxed for this, or what kind of questions are you hoping that we're asking the Ogden Valley? We don't want to ask the wrong question.
Commissioner Faur.
Well, the discussion we've had over the past year or so had to do with a survey that if we would put forth in a ballot proposal, are you or are you not willing to dedicate a property tax or a fee to the establishment of the conservation easements in Ogden Valley? I mean, it was pretty simple. Are you willing to raise your taxes? Everybody wants open space. Everybody wants somebody else to pay for it and or take development rights away, so they have open space. I think we've come from a conclusion, look, nobody's gonna just give you their ground, they have to buy it. That's what we do here in America, it's called private property right. So if you want open space, you want conservation easement, are you willing to pay for it or not?
Perfect. Okay.
That's what we've talked about for the past 2 or 3 years.
So there was another conservation up there and the federal government gave some money and I'd like the people to take advantage of that as well, Charlie. So I don't want to exclude that by any means. If the federal government's willing to also share in that.
Sure, well, and
the state's got a program too, right?
And so when you say how do you want to stand this up? We don't need to reinvent the wheel. The state through the Department of Ag has a program.
Yeah.
They've dedicated X number of dollars to in conjunction with our rollback fees.
Yeah.
That we already are obligated under state code, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we usually abide by state code.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not gonna correct you.
So we're already obligated to put X number of dollars, whatever that is, into this program. So my thoughts are, let's take advantage of the state dollars. Let's take advantage of that program rather than have it go somewhere else.
Okay.
And see how they follow their lead.
Do you want us to ask, if we're asking them, are they okay with taxes increasing a little bit for open space conservation? Do you want us to ask how much are they willing? Like, what's the threshold?
I think so.
If I were to take the survey, I'd say, well, it depends, $15 a year or $1,000 a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
No, I think that's probably, up to $100, up to $500,
Yeah.
up to $1,000.
Yep.
Well, this way too, it could be a proportionate percentage.
Yeah,
As it relates, but this way they get an opportunity, whatever that ends up being. Then we could, that's gonna depend on the acceleration. There's two things, the more that goes in now, the cheapest land's gonna be today. Tomorrow price is gonna go up a little more. 10 years, it's gonna be a little more expensive. 20 years, it's even gonna be more. Of course, that fund will continue to grow. But there's a huge passion for people everywhere to have conservation easements. I'd love there to be a revenue. I'd love there to be an avenue, a vehicle to be able to take it there
Okay.
for them. That'd be a wonderful thing. And then we may do something like that out west too eventually.
Exactly.
But I think there's certainly there's been a big desire for people in the Upper Valley. They've shown us they wanna do that. And so, look, let's try to figure out a way for them to do that, where the other 98.2% of the valley residents don't have to pay for that as well.
Okay.
But I don't think we necessarily want to just, really, because these funds could be used out west, anything unincorporated. And I think we've got some people out there that also would be interested in open space preservation. Now, whether we do a joint survey, east and west, I think that's up to you guys to decide.
That might be useful.
Yeah, but I think if we're gonna put those funds in, we put so much into rollback with Department of Ag, if we got in my opinion is, the public should participate in this as well.
Okay.
And I wouldn't hurt to hear, so if everybody out west said, hey, we're not willing to put anything in, Ogden Valley said, yeah, we'll put in 5,000 a year per household, great, then guess where it goes.
Then we know. Okay,
But I don't want I want this to be 100% of those monies to go to that
Sure.
purpose,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
yeah, okay.
How do you expect the survey to go out and how would it be funded?
That's the next question.
That's a darn good question.
Because it's gonna require, some time, to get that out and.
Oh, yeah.
And some money, associated with that. Do we hire?
Where's Scott?
A company to do that?
The thought was that maybe we contract with a third party to actually create this survey, do that work. And the concern is where we're already down one planner in our planning division. To put that amount of work on someone may be a little bit detrimental right now.
Well, if you're down a planner, then you probably have money to pay for it.
Well, and I'm not.
Why is it?
The money may not, yeah, we can work that out with Scott. The money may not be the big issue.
Yeah.
I think it's more the workload. Because this, simple as it may sound, it's talking through it is not going to be a simple process.
Sure. Can use Jessica as far as that.
Yeah, and Jessica was in our meeting. Maybe you want to speak to that as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I think it sounds like it's gonna require a lot of research, someone who's kind of specialized in that area. So I think that's why I kind of threw that option out there.
We were talking about the possibility of creating just a little animation to explain what purchase of development rights are. Watch this 30-second or 60-second video and then take the survey. I've got 3 questions for the survey. One is, would you be willing to increase your taxes? 2 is, by how much, if you are willing to? And then 3, which you mentioned in the last meeting, is, do you currently have development rights that you'd be willing to sell the county and place a conservation easement on the property? So those 3 make me feel a lot better about doing this, because we had probably 50 different questions that we were thinking, gosh, this could get really complicated really
Yeah, you
fast.
don't want it to be too long.
I know we're gonna do it.
And really, I think the discussion needs to be on conservation easements. That should be the focus.
Yep.
And development rights come about. I don't think we don't want to say, hey, we're gonna go out and just buy development rights. I think we're doing conservation easements that would then go into the land trust or go through state protocol.
Okay.
So I really think the focus needs to be, hey, we're gonna create open space by conservation easements, by working with private property owners. It's their decision. The county's not gonna be strong-handed in this. It's basically a volunteer-only basis. We're gonna try to come up with a pool of funds that then we can create these open spaces via conservation easement.
So
But
instead of,
TDRs come about, but I don't see us going out there and buying TDRs. I
Okay.
see, we're gonna buy the easements, which would extinguish
the
the
rights.
TDR.
Yep. Okay, so instead of asking the purchase of development or the TDR question, change it to,
That's, yeah,
would you be willing to sell the county a conservation easement on your property?
that's how I see it.
We'll work.
No, because would they be selling it to the county? Or would they be just placing it in a conservation easement?
They
They wouldn't sell it to the county.
would be they'd be paid certain number of dollars from whatever source of the funds comes about to place the conservation easement. In exchange for the conservation easement, they basically give up their TDRs, their TDRs.
Would you be willing to be compensated for applying a
There
conservation
you
easement
go.
on your property?
That's what,
Yeah.
that's how I see it.
Okay.
And then forfeiting, and then in that conservation easement, cause right now, I think the way, I wanna be really clear here. Right now, I think we have two things. If they place a conservation easement on their property, couldn't they still sell the TDRs off first and then place the conservation easement on their property? So we wanna make sure, we wanna lessen the density in the valley by reducing the number, you said extinguish the TDRs tied to that property.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so somebody has X number of TDRs on their property. They're farming 100 acres right now. They could say, okay, I'm gonna sell my TDRs to whoever, and then we'll talk about a conservation. The delta then, I mean, the value they're gonna receive if they extinguish those TDRs is a lot higher than if we just buy farm ground. And if they've already if they've already sold those TDRs,
Then they basically put a conservation easement on it
they've
anyway.
all by intents and purposes have done that.
Yep.
Yep.
Make sense?
So that's it, that's now. I mean, just wanna be clear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more clear now. That's how.
So
Chris?
with these, the funding, are we going to mention in there the potential for a bond? Because that's how we discussed it with Randy Larson when we met with him, was that the county would pledge its property, its municipal service tax or a sales tax to issue bonds in the next 10 years of up to so many
That's a
million.
good point, Chris,
So I don't know. if
because that is an option.
Yeah, well, I mean, are we just gonna collect the pool of taxes
Well-
for several years before we actually can do anything with it, or?
In my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that most efficient way to do it would be, are you willing to, we're saying the same thing. Are you willing to increase your taxes? And that would be a bond.
Yeah, and we could say, which would include the possibility of issuance of a bond.
Yeah.
So you could leave it open that way. And then my other question is, are we presenting some type of municipal service that it's connected to? So other counties that did like conservation easements such as, or just outright purchasing land. In Summit County, it was connected to recreation, like preserving viewpoints. Are we going to tie it to any type of municipal type service? Or is it just to reduce density?
Well, I don't know if there's a service that would be directly tied to that.
I mean, maybe with conservation, it's to preserve open space.
Well, it's open space / corridor preservation, it could be a lot of things. When I say corridor, view corridors or river corridors or whatever, that makes sense.
So maybe we ought to, in the survey, identify some of the type of municipal services that we're trying to accomplish with
Right.
this.
Right.
To include that.
But I think we want to make it clear that it's not the county's intent to acquire and own the ground. Private property owners would still control the ground. What we want to do is preserve that open space or easement conservation. Give the opportunity for some of the farmers to continue to farm without selling their ground for development.
At least for 99 years.
Okay.
But I think, however, Chris, you might want to work with Charlie and whoever group, best way to structure that. When we say, are you willing to pay for taxes? To me, that's a bond.
Yeah, and I could say this may include, so are you willing to do this, which may include bonding or
Yeah.
something like that? We can add that stuff in. Okay,
Charlie, in your animation, something you would want to consider, we may not even have to go to the bond as an incentive. The incentive's pretty heavy from the federal and the state government as is. So including that upfront as what they would get without the county even coming in and putting any incentive money into the package might be incentive enough. I don't know. But
I think if you're paying the money to send out a survey, you include both options.
Yeah.
But I would definitely make sure that they're aware that there's incentive to do this outside of the county.
outside of taxing.
Exactly. But it needs to be, both need to be included. And that way we may not have to bond in the
Mhm,
long term.
right.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay. Couple more questions, then we done.
And the federal government just upped it from 30 to 50%, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So it's a pretty good deal.
Okay.
Trying to find where I saw that.
Do you want, as far as, getting everybody aware of it, do you want us to send a postcard to everyone with property in the valley and then, guide them to an online survey, or would you rather see this like a written survey that is mailed to people?
What would be the easiest way for them to respond? The simplest?
I think it would be online, but not everyone has that ability still. And
The problem with online too is it's a self-selected sample where you can weed out people that don't have access to computers or funds to afford a computer, that kind of thing. Probably wouldn't affect a whole lot of people, but it's still significant.
Can you give them an option to do either? You can go online here, this,
Yes.
or you could go there.
Come in and pick
Whatever,
up a hard
just
copy
make it
and-
as easy as you can to at least respond.
we'll send, instead of a postcard, then we'll send an envelope.
It's not
with the
that big a
survey.
deal. It's not that many people, right?
Right.
Yeah, when we noticed before, it was, I think we had 5,000 parcels, we'll probably have a little bit more, so,
In the Upper Valley or both?
in the Upper Valley.
Are we gonna go out in west?
I'd like to go out west as well.
I'd like to take it in phases.
Maybe that's
I'd
what
like
we
to,
do.
I'd like to phase it and see how, well, let's do it, let's do that part first, then we do
I'm okay with that.
let's phase it.
So phase the Ogden Valley first.
Yeah, and then let's see how that goes, and then we could phase the out west.
That makes sense.
Do you have any?
We may learn something. I hope we learn something from the Upper Valley that we wanna include on the out west, you know? But I don't think it would be wise for us to do out west first, because there seems to be a collection of, feelings a little more concentrated for now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not to say there's none out west.
Right.
We're a little further down the road with what's going on up there.
Yeah, any particular way you'd like to make sure this stays restricted to people who live in the valley? I don't know that we're gonna have a ton of people outside the valley wanting to take the survey, but
They have property just as well. They would, you know, they moved up there or bought a place or whatever.
I mean,
Could
someone
they
who,
be involved? if
He's talking about someone who would share the code,
Oh,
share the link, right?
yeah. And a lot of times when you do surveys like this, people, when they respond, they don't want to tell you what their exact address is, because they want to stay anonymous. And so, I mean, we could say, whereabout do you live in the valley, what area, but people could lie.
nah, I think, wouldn't it be if they respond, could you put it so they respond with their property ID number? And
Could.
then you could do a sort on the responses. Once you do the sort on the responses, then you're gonna know if that property ID is in there twice.
Yeah, I wanna have the taxpayer make this decision, not somebody that, you know, has a friend up there that thinks it's a good idea for the friend to pay taxes.
So we can just put a introductory disclaimer that says, we need your address. But
Yeah.
You don't even need the
we're not
address.
gonna collect it for long-term, we're just,
The tax, they don't need the address, just put the tax ID number on it. That'll tell us the address.
most people have to call us to get their tax ID number. So we'll have thousands of phone calls if people wanted, it's just one more step.
Sure.
Unless in mailer, you put that tax ID number right there by the.
I thought of that too, but are you gonna do a mass mailer though? Then you wouldn't be able to, if it's bulk mail, you wouldn't be able to individualize it.
Yeah, it's a good
I
question.
think I think if you just put in okay, give us your return address, your
Just ask for the address.
current home address.
If you don't wanna share it, then maybe
Yeah.
it doesn't count. right?
Yeah.
Okay, and we could say,
Somebody could lie about it, but
okay,
I don't
and,
think most people would.
and if it's just an owner who doesn't actually live up there, we'll find a way to, we'll ask a question to flesh that out too.
Well, you know, again, if they're a second homeowner, that's great. We don't mind second homeowners paying more.
Okay. Last question, so, sir. If, if we do get this all done in time to get something on the ballot, are you guys committed to putting something on the ballot this year where the is also on the ballot? I want to be sensitive to what your needs are there.
I don't know why not, if that's what,
I think it all depends on timing. I mean,
yeah, it depends on timing.
if you can make it work and we have something that works for that time schedule, great. I'm all for putting it on the ballot.
I'm not afraid to put it on the ballot. I'd love for people to be able
Yeah.
to make their decision based on
Yeah.
that, if we can.
Okay,
We just have to have a decision made 75 days prior to the general election.
yeah, I've got it on my calendar. Okay,
Well, and if we got into that, Chris, we could make it more explanatory for the vote, it'd be a bond. Here's what you're voting for. Yep.
would you guys still like to have a work session and meet with the different land trusts, conservation entities, and the park district in the valley to have this conversation with them, or would you rather see the survey go out first?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if it makes a lot of difference.
Maybe what we'll do is we'll put together the questions and then convene some kind of a small steering committee of those particular stakeholders. And
I'd like their input before
There they
land
go.
trust to whoever, before it goes out, yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if this will be helpful in coming up with a survey, but it was Summit County, Wasatch County, and Midway City that has done this in the past. Or something.
That's it. Best part of doing a survey is the responses. Well, this is leading, or this is this is biased, or we can tell that you love development, or those are my favorites.
Isn't this Charlie's point?
Look. We're not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes here. We just would like a general feeling. Look, we've always said, if I've asked people, if you want to protect your view, then buy the property behind you. And people say, well, I can't afford to buy that property behind us. But maybe a collection of people would be able to buy that property behind them and accomplish the same thing. We're just trying to come up with solutions for them to get what they want.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
But I can't ask the folks out west to buy the property for the people there.
Right.
That's not fair.
Right.
So.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa. We wouldn't do the same thing when we go out west to do that either, you know, it's gonna be, this is a very unique circumstance. I'm glad that it's been done somewhere else in the state. And it was done by people in the state. It was done. It wasn't tried. It was tried and done. And so, yeah, Park City and that Heber Valley, that's a nice area. And it's turned into be beautiful. Let's protect those areas. If this, use a lot of the information from up there to, let's find a way to say yes here. Find a way to get that done for the folks, and it would be great.
Commissioner, do you want any indication of, or any thought about properties that we're looking to purchase, or easements on properties that we're looking to purchase? Do you want people to give suggestions in their survey about the properties that are the most important, or is that even a consideration at this point?
I think it might be too early for that. We just really want to put the feelers out to see if they're interested, right?
I would agree. I think that comes after we have the answer to the first
If
question.
the answer to the first question is no, we're not willing.
Yeah, sure. And then why, I would say the people we bring at that point would be the land trust or whoever said, let's look at what critical lands, then you put out another survey or you bring that group together and say, okay, this is really what we'd like to protect first. Work down the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll ask one of the questions we'll make sure is in there, do you own property? And if so, how many acres is it? So we can tie at least some kind of acreage to a geographic
Do
location.
you have property? Do you own acreage in the upper Ogden Valley? Yeah, I own property. It's down in Death Valley. That's not gonna help us. Yeah, yeah, I own property. It's an acre. Yeah, it's not gonna.
No,
Do you own property in excess? In order to put it in a land trust, how many acres does it have to be?
It depends on the land trust.
Okay, how many, can you put a third acre in there, Charlie?
No, we're working with, someone right now who, what was it that, Oberg wants to do, that
About
14?
5 acres. He's got 14 acres total.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to pull out about 5, 6
Okay,
acres.
so maybe
That's
you
on the
start
small
there.
side for the land trust.
So maybe you say, do you own 5+ acres in the Ogden Upper Valley?
Okay.
Yeah. Would you do it for 3 acres? No, because it's zoned 3 acre. So you probably ought to start with 5.
I think you start with 5 or, yeah.
Just see what it gets, what it yields us. We have no idea.
We don't.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Yeah, that was it for me.
Okay, if there's no other questions, then commissioners, I'm gonna move on to item number 8 on our agenda. Thank you for this discussion.
Thank you.
All of you here, thank you. Item number 8 on our agenda, we're a little overtime now. I've done it. We discussed.
Wow.
We'll make up for it here.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think we're
Discuss developer donations and contributions towards parks, trails and open spaces for rezone in Western Weaver planning area. We have Sean Wilkinson, Rick Grover, Charlie Ewart, Tammy Adlotley and Keel, Brandon Finney, Chris Crockett, Joe Giordano, Lance Peterson, and remind me your name again, ma'am?
Colleen Ingram, Ingram.
Colleen Ingram. Great. I'm gonna ask that Mr. Wilkinson, you lead out on this, please.
Commissioner, if it's okay, I'm going to turn this over to either Rick or Charlie to start.
So we've been working with, park districts out there, when we've been looking at rezones. Some type of fee that's associated with, a fair equitable amount for development that happens out in that area. Charlie has been tasked with looking at different communities as far as what actually is the cost of that to put in a park. The park district came back with some numbers, and then Charlie went out and looked at different communities in our area to see what that actual cost is. And so he has some breakdowns that he's gonna show you, and see how that compares with the park members that the park district.
It's wonderful. Charlie.
So we've got, 2 different park districts out west, and both of them kind of doing their own independent things when it comes to park donations. One thing that was mentioned in an earlier work session was, you know, if someone's gonna get a rezone, they've got to do something pretty great for the community, and our intention is to help facilitate that as we go through the rezone process and start the negotiation with the developers. So one of the first things we wanted to do, the general plan is very clear that if the land out there is gonna develop, the people wanna see parks, open space and recreation areas. And they wanna see parks and recreation areas in their open spaces over other types of open spaces, ironically. So when we put together, like, what is the priority listing of how your open space is held, you know, you could do ag land, you could do natural space, and it was really important to do finished parks for folks who were out there.
What kind of parks? Water parks, polo parks, fishing parks?
I think we're talking about more the soccer fields, playgrounds, pavilions, maybe even a little civic center, rec center or something like
Okay,
that.
what about pickleball?
I'm sure that'll be there.
Not thinking about pickleball. You know what John McEnroe says about pickleball.
So
Anyway,
with that in mind, we reached out to the park districts and asked them if the county was to ask for a donation from a developer in exchange for getting a rezone, what would that number be per lot? And we kind of like throwing a dartboard and just seeing where it lands. West of the river, Joe and his crew did the math, and they said, well, to build parks, it costs about $7,500 per lot. East of the river, we've been anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 per lot. I was getting a little bit nervous with some of these costs because they're high. And so, I put some numbers together and found that the numbers justify the cost. It just depends on what it is that, the county wants to provide, or help the park districts provide in terms of parks and recreation. So I'll walk you through those numbers, if you're ready for that, or do you have any questions before we dive in?
Questions, either one of you?
Not yet.
Commissioner Bowles?
Not yet.
Commissioner Farrar? No, not yet. Okay, got it.
Let me tell you the quick and easy of how the method of putting these numbers together. I looked at these 4 different cities in the general area. I looked at their capital facilities plans and their impact fee facilities plans to see what they think that their existing level of service is for parks and what they think their existing infrastructure and improvements are in terms of value. So level of service is important and value is important. The general plan, the Western Weaver General Plan says that the park districts want to be at a level of service of 10 acres per 1,000 residents or better. And you'll find in here, there's only one community that's over 10 acres per 1,000 residents. That's Highland City. And I did a little research on that. Why is Highland City so high? Because they purchased a bunch of open space, a bunch of natural open space. So it's not a park area, but it's area that could be enjoyed by the public. So with that in mind, starting with Syracuse City, what I did was I took the number of acreage that each of these jurisdictions have compared to the potential number of acres that could be in the Taylor Landing subdivision, which is about 32 acres. And I chose that one specifically because that's the one that I think is easiest to get at this point in time where we're working with a developer on that. So it's about 32 acres of land out there in the Taylor Landing subdivision area. Developer has already, well, the Parks District has already acquired 10 of those acres. Developer is right now willing to donate another 22 or so of those acres for a total of a 32 acre park in exchange for a rezone. So with that in mind, I just took a ratio of what is it in Syracuse City, how many acres do they have, compared to how many acres does the Taylor West Weaver Park District potentially have. And so you can see at the top there under park acres for Syracuse City, get 75. If you follow that all the way across under Taylor Landing, number of acres, 32, okay? So I just applied a ratio on these numbers. When you get down through it, Syracuse City put a lot of detail into their plan. They know exactly how much these things cost, which I thought was really helpful for us. I applied an inflation value, so you're looking at 2020 numbers. I applied an inflation value, and then I multiplied the number of these types of facilities that could exist or are likely to exist in that 32 acre park, multiplied it by 2024 value. If we were to take the Syracuse City, the amount of infrastructure, park infrastructure and facilities that Syracuse City has in each of their park area and apply that to Western Weaver and make it a 10 acre per 1,000 residents park, we're looking at about $10,106 per lot. And that's the cost to build a park if you're going to this standard. Okay, now is Syracuse City actually looking at that cost? No, they're not. At Syracuse City, under today's values, they're probably looking at more like $3,700. And the reason why theirs is so much less, if you look in the red font under Syracuse City, their population served is 2.33 acres per 1,000 people. So they're well under the 10 acres per 1,000. And that's why their number is so different. Now, when they do their impact fee analysis, they can only charge for the difference in level of service. So if a subdivider comes in and says, we're going to put 1,000 people here, well, that's going to decrease the level of service that these parks are going to have, right? Syracuse City can only charge a fee to make sure that that number doesn't, the level of service doesn't decrease. They can't charge the full $3,700 if it's a fee, okay? And that's under the Impact Fee Act. But if it's a donation from the front end and donation in consideration of getting a rezone, that number is up in the air because you guys have full control over whether or not property is rezoned. So you guys get to decide if $10,000 per lot is the number that we should be looking at. Okay, flip the page over. The rest of these I'll just tap on. So Highland City, you could see if we looked at the 10 acres per 1,000 people doing the level of, or putting the amount of improvements in our park acreage as they do, well, it goes down quite a bit. We're looking at $3,000 under today's numbers. And then flip over, I'm looking at South Ogden City. I found that they were most comparable, I think, to what we're looking at. And they put some detail into what percentage of their acreage that's held in park is actually finished park area. And only about 65% of their acreage is finished park area, which I thought was a really good analog for us, because along that riverway, we're not asking for groomed grass area. We're asking for natural parks area.
So their finished parks area, there's not an intent to finish those.
They do still have some intent to finish more than 65%. But it didn't, from what I could see, it didn't look like it was a ton more.
Okay.
So you can see from their 113 acres in South Ogden City, only 65% of that is complete. So if they were to charge a per residence fee, the number would be about 5,300. But if we were to do our 10 acres per 1,000, it'd be about 7,000 at the South Ogden City.
They got that, let's just put that in perspective there, Charlie, from South Ogden. They got that big nature park out there south of the Ogden Bracket Club there, and that nice little trail goes all the way around it with a couple of push pull-up stations or different little things there.
Yep.
But the big trail going around there, but the center of that, dude, it's just a nice improved paved trail, about 1.25 miles all the way around, but the rest of it is nature.
Yep. If you look at the table down below Nature Park, they're estimating that 40% of that park, 40% of that 60-acre park is developed and 60% is not.
Well, that's higher than I thought. I wouldn't have given it 40%.
Because
I can tell you why, because that little water feature in there is included in there, that pavilion. They got that big feeder parking lot, then you drop off where they got the water feature and they got and it's really cool, those little jet things.
Yeah.
And then you walk down the trail and go to the big loop, then you come back up. And they got a little amphitheater there too. I've never seen it used.
If you're looking at
Undeveloped parks are also not free, so
No,
there is a
no,
cost.
For sure.
I'm not speaking for or against it. I'm just making an
So
observation.
I think it's important that we do collaborate on these and with the other park districts and the county for our developed versus undeveloped, because I think we need a mix.
We'll get there. Finish your presentation.
the jurisdictions also, they've got incentive to undervalue what they have. So these numbers are probably undervalued, because if they overvalue, they're in violation of the Impact
Sure.
Fee Act. They're trying to do right by the Impact Fee Act.
Right.
And then turn the page, Clinton City is another one. They've got about the same amount of acres per 1,000 people. And that number would be $6,200. So it doesn't seem to be out of this world to be asking for $7,500 per lot to get a rezone. One of the concerns that I brought up in our work session with the Planning Commission and the Parks District was, gosh, if we make developing so expensive, they're just not gonna develop, and then you're not gonna get the outcome that your general plan is trying to get. And Joe said something that really kind of piqued me in a certain way, because it was the mentality that we had when we were doing the general plan. He said, good, then they don't come out here and develop. So, but if they're going to, they should do something great for the community.
Right.
So if we live out here, and if we're going to be impacted by all these other people moving in, at the very least, let's make it palatable with some open spaces. So I don't think
I don't disagree with that.
that is the way that we put the general plan together. And we said, developers, if you're gonna make money off of this, the community better have a higher standard of living, or at least not be decreased in their standard of living.
Okay.
Okay,
What else do you have, Charlie?
that's it from me.
Mr. Grover, do you have anything to add to that presentation?
Well.
You know I have something to add.
Well, I'm gonna go to Tammy Adelaw first.
I won't add anything other than to say that planning staff, and especially Charlie, did a lot of research. We had a lot of discussions.
A lot of work.
There was a lot of work that went behind what Charlie presented to you today, and he doesn't need to hear that. You guys already know that, but I just want to make sure that that is on the record.
Thank you. Mr. Quinney?
If anybody's interested, there's kind of a legal posture that helps
justify this type of scenario where we're asking for consideration for a rezone. State law provides for kind of, we know about impact fees. They allow for really any infrastructure to be upsized as growth continues. What's difficult here is there is, at least in the Taylor West Weaver Park District and likely in West Warren, is it West Warren?
Warren, West Warren.
Warren, West Warren, and there's 2 Warrens in there. A low level of service, so there's really not a lot of infrastructure in place, so impact fees come in at a very low amount. They don't support undeveloped areas. They're meant to kind of subsidize or help supplant developed areas, like a city like South Ogden. Developers coming in, puts in a huge development. South Ogden already has parks in place. Impact fee will help them oversize it, but impact fees don't help in a scenario like this, where we have rezones, we have undeveloped areas or farming land turning into residential areas, commercial areas. And so the county's in an interesting position where you can decide how to bridge that gap between zero service to a level of service that you want for that whole area. And it's the consideration through rezone and development agreements that is your legal tool. There really aren't any other options for this infrastructure lift for park districts. Impact fees won't help, taxing more won't help. Bonding just puts it on the back of current residents, which sounds like we're trying to avoid having current residents pay for developers to come in and make money. So this seems like the most legal and plausible solution right now until impact fees can start taking off. Once parks are built, level of service reaches a point where we want it to be, then these can kind of go away, these asks through rezones, and then impact fees will replace it. And then you don't have to have a system in place for negotiating.
We just
So
gotta get
I
ourselves
just-
up to the 10 acres per thousand and
Yeah, so I support it from a legal standpoint. I think this is the best option as far as trying to get money to build parks without impact fees there to help or raising taxes.
One moment, commissioners, I'll go to you, Charlie.
Yeah.
I respect the fact that this looks like, and maybe just echoing what Tammy said, this is a lot of work you've done here. And a lot of good work. I appreciate you drilling down and focusing in. Really it comes from an element of really caring about what you do.
That's right.
And thank you so much for doing that.
Appreciate that. You're welcome.
Oh, so, and in advance of, and I'm gonna have you speak for in a minute here, Joe, and Marlene, but Colleen, but I can tell you too, that I've had a lot of experience with Joe Giordano, and he always is a guy that gets things done, and he does things very well. So in advance of his, whatever he's got to say, I just wanted you to know that I respect him a lot. Let's go to you, Commissioner Bolos, first.
I think I'd rather hear from Joe before I
Okay.
have comments.
Okay, just a moment. Commissioner Floor?
Well, I just want to kind of follow up on what our legal counsel had to say, which I think he's spot on. I think we'd have to keep in mind that when we did the general plan and the increased zoning, everybody out there is A1, A2, or maybe A3. That's what they have right now. We've given them the opportunity basically to pay for more by way of density. So to me, this is not, I mean, people call me, well, why are you putting such high cost on these park fees? I say, well, look, we don't have to give you R115. We can give you the A1, A2, A3. Stay with that. We're happy. But the minute they come in, so we've given them the incentive. We've actually created the revenue source for them versus impact fees. Now, I agree with Quinny 100%. Sooner or later, probably quite a bit later, will be an issue of then we'll have impact fees as that level of service. So I don't feel at all guilty talking back to people that say, you know, why are you trying to, because it does go on the back of the homeowner. We know that. At the end of the day, it comes down to the person that has the A1 or A2, and that becomes part of that private negotiation. So, so I fully support, and again, I went over this with Rick and Charlie last week, so I had a little update on this. A lot of good work, so.
Thank you, Ms. Russell,
Anyway,
then we'll go to
we're
you,
at-
Joe. Thank you.
Super quick comment,
Yeah.
piggybacking on what Gage is saying and what Quinny was saying. Because the county uses public infrastructure districts as a finance mechanism for a lot of our development projects in the West River Corridor, considering that there is very little infrastructure and there is a heavy infrastructure list. By implementing this recommendation coming from Charlie and from staff, that also provides another mechanism for these developers to finance those public infrastructure, and parks and trails fall under that statutory incentive. Just wanted to throw that in there, that it takes further burden off of the taxpayer and provides a finance mechanism for the developers to actually do this, what we would be asking for them in the development agreement.
Thank you. Joe, we'll go to you next and then Colleen after you.
Well, I totally agree with everything that's been said here, especially the hard work with Charlie. We've been working with him for a while on this, and since before the master plan was written, really, the new master plan. So it's been a long lot of work for Charlie, not just this presentation. But we were just trying to streamline the process, because one of the complaints we have and received is just, and we're all volunteer workforce here, right? So we meet on a Monday, once a month, on a Monday, one day, then we have a developer come in, hit us up. Then we have to have our next meeting to discuss it, and then we have to have the following meeting to have the developer come in, and so the process gets drawn out by design. So we were trying to just come up with a number, and that's kind of what I give you the letter to address, to streamline the process. That doesn't mean we're not open to other negotiations, other offers, things like that. It's not, you pay this, that's it. But this is kind of like, this is where we're at. You know it coming in, the whole staff here knows it. Developers know it, people selling their ground knows it, people buying the ground knows it, and so it can all be part of the puzzle. We're just trying to make it go a little quicker, right? Because we don't want to be the reason that slows down these developments. And then the whole, he talked about when it'll go away, and Stephanie brought it up. Well, we have a lot of tax-based diversification going on out west, right? 25 years from now, we might have industrial parks out there that are providing so much tax revenue. The parks are gonna be extremely nice, right? And so these kind of agreements won't be long-term. It's kind of those who come first kind of have to build it. And then the piece I wanna kind of point out, and I know the cluster subdivision ordinance is a dirty word around here, but that's what we're trying to jump over, right? So like some of these developments, they're not big enough to provide a meaningful park. If they just kind of set aside some open space, and then it's the whole governance problem with that space and everything. So we're trying to jump and say, okay, when the county called us and said, okay, we're looking for some changes for the master plan, would you be willing to take on these donations and funnel that money to something the community can actually utilize? We talked through it and we said, sure, that's a good plan. So what we're looking at is, if you look at our ratio, we're about 7.5 acres for our folks out west, right? And we want to get to the 1,010 ratio, but we don't want to do that 2.5 acres at a time. So, we've identified a need, we've done some community engagement, we've looked at the types of parks people want, and there's a variety, and different things were ranked in our community engagement processes through surveys and through some public meetings we held and stuff. But the consensus is there, people want parks, but what we need to be able to do is we kind of leapfrog that ratio by saying, okay, we've identified, for example, we need a sports complex, right? Unincorporated residents are somewhere on the verge of not having a place to play sports, right? The youth, because both the cities that our children utilize are up against it on grass, right? So their programs are so big, and their grass that they have to support those programs it's bursting. West Haven uses some of Roy City's grass, as a matter of fact, to keep up with it. And so they charge our residents an out of city fee, which is fine. That's a good agreement, but maybe in the future we can come to them and say, hey, we have some grass of our own. Can we just partner? But so we want to jump, say, we don't want to go 5 acres would put us at the right amount, but developing 5 acres and then 10 years, 5 more. So we're saying, okay, to jump, Taylor Landing, 32 acres. For us out there, probably about 25 acres. So we're going to target a purchase of 25 acres and the development of that 25 acres. And we're looking at millions of dollars. And so that's where we want to funnel this money in. And it's all going to be transparent, and funnel it into that purchase and that development, so that we can focus it. So it benefits current residents, future residents, developers, land sellers, whoever. It benefits everybody. And that's why we came up with this. probably why we're sitting here today. Cause we're just trying to make it public, that that's around the number we need to be at, and if you wanna streamline the process, that's where we're at. And there's, plenty of facts, I think, behind it to try to tell you why, what we need to do with the money and why it needs to be quite about where it's at.
Colleen, go ahead.
I don't know if I really have more to add. I mean, Joe laid it all out. We've just done, we have done a lot of community engagement to understand what the people want. We didn't decide as a board, well, we think we need a ballpark, or we think we need a sports complex or an equestrian park. We had hundreds of people show up to the community engagement, and it was awesome because we had 5 big visual boards and we gave them options of parks. And they were allowed, we had like the little sticky notes, and they could put notes on there and put it up in the different sections. So there has been a lot done and a lot of thought and research. And we just want to keep a good level of service for the community as we're getting all new. It appears to be a lot of new residents in. We want to have a place for the kids to play ball and, utilize the park. I think it's necessary. I think it adds to the well-being of the community for the kids to have a place to go.
Very good, thank
Right.
you. I want to get to Commissioner Bowles here in a moment, but do either one of you two want to add a new point or just reinforce what's been said?
Two things, reinforce what's been said and all the work that Charlie's put into this and the staff. We've been working on this kind of a process for the last year and a half. And came up with a formula, and our fear and concern has been, is that enough money to start building parks? We just opened up bids last week for a parking lot, $500,000. The pavilion will bid out next month. I'm afraid it's gonna be about $300,000-400,000. And that'll wipe us out in our bank account. And so we've always thought, over the last year and a half, it's gonna take us 10 years to build out a park. Playground equipment, I can't believe how expensive that is for commercial grade that's gonna get the crap beat out of it.
Price of a small house.
What did you guys just spend in Clearfield?
We just spent about $250,000 on the playground.
On playground. So, the cost is just unbelievable.
Does that have shade sails over it?
It's actually just a simple tower with a couple slides coming off of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
so as we build out these parks, we don't have the
It's expensive.
resources to be able to build out the way we need to or should, that the people out west deserve. So appreciate the consideration and positive responses. Sorry.
Thank you. Anything?
No, I would just echo that, we want to make sure that we're doing it the right way. Of course, legally, but then also that we are not getting ourselves a cheap substitute of what should be proper level service of a park out there as well. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Bowles.
The only thing I would add is, I appreciate you, looking to the future and what those parks look like, because I've had that experience in West Haven where we had developers just build small, we call them pocket parks, and they're literally useless. We can't program in them, and that's a big deal, especially because, that area is probably looking at incorporation at some point, or annexation, one or the other. And to be able to hand off those larger, more useful parks is gonna be critical, I think, in the future, so.
Yes, ma'am.
It makes sense.
I'd like to go to, thank you very much, Commissioner. I'd like to go next to recommendation form. State it out loud, please.
So we recommend that you guys support $7,500 per residential lot donation, calling it a donation, making sure the developer agrees that they know this is not a fee, this is a donation. And each agreement can write this, or as otherwise negotiated by the Parks District. So just let the Parks District have control.
Another chance to comment, or?
So would that then, that's a recommendation to each of the park districts. They could either accept that. I mean, we have no ability to say this is what it is. It's a donation. It's still up to them to either accept it or reject it or come up with their own number, but.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the Parks District,
We'll accept it.
Yeah.
The
so-
Parks District can ask for the donation, but they don't have the authority to approve the rezone. And so the
Right.
donation is 100% on you, on you guys,
Right,
through
Got
that
it.
rezone.
okay,
And developers are gonna complain, just so you know, agricultural prices have gone up over 14%
that.
out west, and that's just from the adoption of our general plan.
so I'm in support.
No
I just want to say thanks to Joe, Lance, the groups that put, take the time in that community, non-paying to look at this, because this really becomes critical for the future of these communities, the next 10 or 15, 20, 30 years. You will see, the public will enjoy that, because of the work you guys have done.
Generations to come.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Nobody misses out and nobody's put behind the 8 ball when they do become a city or annexed in
Yeah.
or
And,
something.
and obviously, you're gonna get pushback, we're gonna get pushback, but I'm in support because this needs to happen. And again, like I said before, we're giving a gift to these people. If we're giving them a gift, they should put some of that gift back
Back into
to the
community.
public.
Mhm.
That's how I look at it.
Okay, Commissioner Bolos,
Nothing else?
you're in support,
Mhm.
right? My question is Charlie, you've got several applications that are already in process.
I wanted to hit that.
Well, so tell me where that goes, or where the cutoff date is, how that works.
So we've got a few of them that we've already got development agreements written up and almost ready for you guys to look through. You'll see a $2,000 donation per lot in those ones. So I think it'd be hard to pull the rug out from under them at this point, especially if they've already purchased the property. But we've got others that we're just starting the conversation, including the ones that you met with earlier today in work session, and we can apply this to them.
Good with that? Good with that? Okay, you've got a unanimous 3 that's move forward at 7-5.
Hey, sounds good. Thanks, Commissioners.
Very good. Commissioners, we're gonna move on. If you guys would I'll entertain a motion for the final item number 9, which isn't really formal, but.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn in second. All in favor? Aye, this work session is now adjourned.